So you're a dog owner here in Shrewsbury, and you're trying to find the right trainer. It can feel, well, a little overwhelming, right? Don't worry, this is your complete guide to help you confidently find the perfect professional for both you and your dog. We're going to cover everything you need to know to make a really great decision.
All right, here's what we'll be covering. We'll start with why training is so important for life right here in Shrewsbury. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty. What makes a great trainer, how to pick the right program for you, and we'll even cover the local rules and resources. And to wrap it all up, we'll arm you with the must-ask questions for any trainer you talk to.
Okay, Section 1, Training for Shrewsbury Life. So you might be thinking, why focus so specifically on Shrewsbury? Well, it's because great training isn't just about learning sit and stay. It's really about being able to enjoy everything our town has to offer with your happy, well-behaved dog right there with you.
I mean, just picture it for a second. A really calm, pleasant walk over at Dean Park. Politely greeting someone on Main Street without any chaos. Or just having a relaxing day out by Jordan Pond. A well-behaved dog makes all these moments so much better. You're not stressed about the leash pulling or worried about them jumping on strangers. It's all about building that partnership so you both feel relaxed and confident, you know? Whether you're in a busy spot like White City Plaza or just strolling through your own neighborhood.
All right, so we've covered the why. Now let's talk about the who. How do you identify a truly great trainer? It all starts with understanding their training philosophy and their qualifications. Honestly, this is probably the most critical piece of the puzzle. Okay, so the term you're going to hear a lot, and for good reason, is positive reinforcement. This is really the standard for modern, effective dog training. And it's not just about being nice with treats. It's about being smart. It focuses on teaching your dog what you want them to do and rewarding that instead of just punishing them for things you don't like. This whole approach builds trust, makes learning fun for your dog, and you get way better, long-lasting results. A huge red flag is any trainer who talks about using fear, pain, or intimidation tactics. You'll want to avoid that.
Now here's an interesting fact. Massachusetts doesn't actually require dog trainers to be licensed. So how do you spot a pro? You look for certifications like these. They are a huge sign of professionalism. It tells you that a trainer has put in the time and money to get educated, and they're committed to using up-to-date, science-backed methods. For general good manners, a CPD-TK or KPA-CTP is a fantastic sign. But if you're dealing with more serious issues, like major anxiety or leash reactivity, you'll want to look for someone with a behavior consultant certification, like a CBCCK or an IABC-CDBC.
Okay, so let's say you found a few trainers who seem qualified. The next step is figuring out what kind of training program is the best fit. And this really comes down to your specific goals, your dog's individual personality, and, of course, your budget. So, let's break down the two most common options you'll see. On one side, you have group classes. These are awesome for socialization, especially for puppies, and for teaching your dog to focus when there are other dogs and people around. Plus, they're usually more cost-effective. On the other side, you have private sessions. These are perfect when you need to tackle specific issues that happen right in your own home. You know, like going crazy when the doorbell rings or surfing the kitchen counters. The trainer can see the problem firsthand and build a plan that's completely customized to you.
All right, let's talk about the question on everyone's mind, money. What does training actually cost around here in the Shrewsbury area? Let's take a look at some of the typical price ranges you can expect.
As you can see, the costs can really vary. A standard 6-week group class is often your most affordable way to get started. Private lessons are more per hour, but if you buy a package of them, you can often get a much better deal. Then you have board and train programs, which are definitely the biggest investment. They're an option for people who need intensive, round-the-clock training for their dog. The main thing to remember here is to think about the long-term value you're getting, not just the upfront cost.
All right, let's move on to local rules and resources. Because being a good dog owner in Shrewsbury isn't just about training, it's also about knowing the local stuff. And a good trainer will absolutely help you and your dog navigate all of this.
So here are a few key things every single dog owner in Shrewsbury should know. First, the town has a leash law. This means your dog has to be leashed anytime you're off your property. That makes practicing good leash manners a must. You also have to license your dog every year through the town clerk. And to do that, you'll need proof of a rabies vaccine. That's a state law. And finally, being a good neighbor means keeping nuisance barking under control, which is something training can definitely help with.
So once you start your training, where can you go to practice all these new skills? Well, we've got some great spots. The Shrewsbury Dog Park is fantastic because it's the main place you can legally have your dog off-leash to practice things like coming when called. And for working on those leash skills around other people and dogs, you really can't beat the paths at Dean Park or the Jordan Pond Trail.
All right, you've got all this great background knowledge, but what do you actually say when you get a potential trainer on the phone? This last section is your go-to checklist to make sure you make a confident, solid choice.
Here they are. 5 essential questions you should ask any trainer you're considering. Number 1, checks their philosophy and credentials. Number 2, make sure they're not just using a cookie-cutter approach. Number 3 is all about results. How will you know it's working? 4 covers the practical stuff, the money and the policies. And number 5, that one is so important. It confirms that you know what your role is. Because remember, training is a partnership, and the homework you do between sessions is what really makes it all click.
At the end of the day, it really comes down to this. Taking a little extra time right now to find the right professional is going to pay off in so many ways. We're talking about better results, a much stronger bond with your dog, and just a more peaceful and enjoyable life together here in Shrewsbury. We wish you the very best of luck in your search, and we hope you enjoy all those amazing, stress-free walks around town that are in your future.